I tell her, pull it out and put it in. I'ma set the dial and blow.
Really, I like your rings. Those are sick.
Thanks, dude.
Willie, would you feel like a more honored guest or a more would you feel better about yourself on our podcast if you showed up and we had a gift bag for you?
Oh.
Would you want to come to our podcast more?
Yeah, definitely.
Charles.
Yeah? Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
Charles is right then.
Yeah.
No, we were just saying
Oh my
it'd be
gosh.
fun and what we want to do, and we'll give you an IOU card at the end of this for it.
Dude.
But we want to figure out some sort of like Happy Rabbit kind of like bag-ish thing where it's like t-shirt, little water bottle,
Sticker.
stickers, some like dumb stuff, but something to
Yeah.
like give to people when they come on the
Dude.
podcast. Is that?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Is that
Thanks
cool?
That'd be amazing.
For hanging out and dealing
Yeah.
with that.
Yeah, a little something,
bullshit.
something. A little something, something for throwing the shit. So,
Oh,
Yeah.
that's great. I love
all right,
that.
we'll do it. Willie confirmed it. You
I
sold
owe
us.
you. Yeah.
Well, thanks everybody for joining us again at another Happy Rabbit podcast. Today we have our good friend Willie.
The man, the myth, the
Um,
legend.
Ooh.
The musician.
Introduce yourself.
I'm Willy Eklof, and I'm an electrician in the film world and a songwriter in the My Personal Space.
In the
Remember
real
that
world.
website?
Yeah. I'm surprised you do.
Are we talking about MySpace?
Yeah.
Okay, I was like, yeah, MySpace was the shit.
That was the one you could put your like own song to it and stuff when you viewed the
Everything. Dude,
profile.
MySpace was the stuff. You could have like customized backgrounds, and I was so into all
Yeah,
that.
like the HTML. That's the first time
Yeah.
I ever tried to do that
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah. I've been doing film for a couple years now. Before that, I did construction my whole life. Yeah.
How'd you
Love
get
the
into film
arts.
from construction?
So I met. I'm good friends with Chase Ramsey, who we're all friends with.
Shout out, Chase.
Shout
I
out
love
Chase.
Chase.
Yeah. We went golfing one time, and Chris Copier was there. Shout out, Chris.
Dude, the classic back
Yeah.
nine with
Yeah.
Cope, dude. Next thing you know,
dude.
you're on set.
Yeah, but yeah, we're golfing, and it was really funny. I'm not sure how Chris will remember this story, but this is how I remember it. Chase was like, "Hey, Chris does movies for like Netflix and stuff," and I was like, "Oh wow, what that?" You know, like so like starstruck kind of, but not really, cause yeah. And so we're golfing, and Chase was like egging me on. He's like, you should ask him to work on movies, and I was like, oh.
You're like, is that what I want to do?
I was like, oh, yeah, I mean, I don't know what I would do, you know, whatever. And so I asked him, I was just like, hey, you know, I don't know if there's any space for me and, you know, on any of the jobs coming up, but I'd be really good on set, I think. I'm really good
You're
with
just
my
so
hands.
nice about it.
Yeah, like it was just
No,
very
but this
much like
speaks to
that.
your personality
Yeah.
so much. Hey
But-
man, if you like need an extra guy, I'm your guy.
I think I'd help.
And I had no idea what I was talking about. I was just like, yeah, like, okay. And he didn't respond at all, like no response. He was just like, and then just
He's
like,
like, I'm golfing. Leave
hit
me
his
alone."
golf shot and went off. Like, but we like had a good time golfing, whatever. Fast forward like 7 months, I get a call out of the blue from Chris. And he's like, hey man, blah, blah, blah. I'm wondering if you want to be an electrician on this show coming up. And I was just like, I don't know what that means. Like, I didn't know anything at
Yeah.
that point. And I was just like, yeah, I do. Let's do it. You know? And yeah, I got on that first show, and it was terrifying and
What was it? What was
wonderful.
the
It
first
was winter, spring, summer, fall.
Mhm.
Okay.
And yeah, it was just crazy in hindsight, like I guess what he trusted me with to like get into the space, because it was just like I was a, you know, company electrician, and I didn't know any of the gear. I didn't know any of the
Yeah.
I didn't know anything. And so it was like
That's great.
I'm being handed like big power and just like big lights, expensive shit, and I was just like, yeah.
So who was your best boy on that show?
JB, James
Okay.
Brown,
And then who was your gaffer?
Dave Childers.
Okay, Dave
Yeah.
was. That's great.
So that's where I met Dave.
Was this before we worked together on the?
It was
short?
after. So we worked on that short, and that
And then
was
you
like,
did that after.
Yeah.
Okay. Because that's where we first met, and
Yeah.
I was like, right off the bat, I was like, this guy's gonna stick into film. I was like, this
Dude,
guy
thanks,
belongs
man.
in film.
Yeah.
That was
Thanks,
what's the name of that we did?
Scratchy.
Yeah,
Scratchy, Cage, and Tumbleweed.
Tumbleweed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a fun.
So it wasn't like
Yeah.
like you'd been on sets, you know? 'Cause you'd been on
Yeah.
a couple of our film sets, and you've
Yeah.
done a couple commercials and things with us. But let's talk about your music background first,
Yeah.
because
Wait,
like
I
that's
want to interrupt real quick before we go. I want to talk about the golfing.
Yeah.
Because I want to speak to that. And we talk about networking and getting
Mm-hmm.
out there and how do you find yourself getting on a film set.
golf.
I know Charles doesn't. I know Charles doesn't like golf. But I just want to speak to the social aspect of it because it is
Yeah.
very important.
It
and
is, it is.
We've been trying to do a better job at it, but I want to attest to Cope in his ability to bring people together. And one of the things he does is like he'll get games of golf on Sundays and such.
Yeah.
And that's one of the ways I actually met Curtis Burr, and that's who got me in with Tolly. Was one of those first golf games. So very
Wow.
similar kind of
Yeah.
interaction and situation. But just speaking to that, of those opportunities when someone is in film and you want to get into
Mhm.
film, it may be as simple as going out and playing a game of golf with them and showing them that you're a good person and fun to be around. And those are the
Yeah.
people that people want on set.
Totally.
And so it may be out at the bar, golf, whatever, but sometimes those nights where you're like, I'm not going out or I don't want to do it, I could attest to some of those are the experiences that got me on that next movie or something like that. So
Yeah, definitely.
take those opportunities for what it's worth and like jump
Right.
on that.
Yeah.
I just wanted to test to what you were saying, and I had the exact same situation, how important some of those things could be.
Yeah, just like totally just being open to that idea of just like, I don't know, I feel like so much of this is like, especially when I think about my journey into the film world, like you can't control any of it. It's just like I was just along for the ride. I was just like, yeah, golfing, you know, it's just like you said, but like, and golfing's interesting because it's like there's no other thing that you can just spend 5 hours with a person with that you don't know.
Mhm.
Really, it's like, let's go to lunch for 5 hours
No.
and talk, you know, like
Let's
it's
open
like, what do you-
Charles's mind to golf
Yeah.
because I'm gonna be honest. I don't go play golf because I don't
Let's
go play golf
let's
because
go
I
rock climbing.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
We
100%.
could go spend
Same vibe though.
Totally.
go
I
jet
think,
months
boats.
together climbing.
I think the idea is
Yeah.
it doesn't matter what you're doing. It's the idea that you're just kind of like the camaraderie. Because I'll admit, like I'll have some of my worst golf games, best golf games. 90% of the time, I don't even keep track.
Yeah.
Half the time, I'm just trying to drink a beer a hole and make sure my wife can pick me up. But like,
Yeah,
that's kind
exactly.
of the idea. Is like, because I know Charles. Every time I'm like, come on, come play golf, do this Coke tournament,
Yeah.
and he's like, no. So I'm trying to get Charles to play golf with us and try it.
I'm with Charles. I think
Here's
you
the
make a
problem.
better bond if you almost die with someone, you know?
Yeah. I get kicked out of golf courses because I show up in like climbing shorts and a climbing shirt and flip flops
In 3 clubs.
and
Charles doesn't like
Now I
the
have a
Oakley
mohawk.
and slacks and like the
yeah, you have to wear. They're like, you have to wear shoes to come on the golf course. I'm like, F you, I
Oh,
don't wear
man,
effing
this
shoes.
dress
He's
is
like,
so
you mind if I
nice."
slackline hole 8? Like, while I'm out? No.
slack line on
Yeah.
hole 8. Charles is over there climbing the trees.
And that's-
Charles,
That's
tee
what
off.
I've never understood. It's like you're out there with your polo and like your whatevers, and I'm
Yeah.
like, and you're drunk as shit.
Yeah.
But you
That
don't.
sounds great.
But you won't let me wear flip flops on the course. Like
It depends.
Come on.
Okay, hold on. It depends on what course we're playing. If we're
Yeah.
talking like Mick Riley,
Fair.
like the par 3,
Whatever you want.
dog,
Yeah.
shirtless
Yeah.
with no shoes.
Whatever you
Like,
want. Whatever you want there.
Yeah, beer cooler in the back. But if we're playing like a country club, yeah, you gotta like dress it up a little bit.
Yeah.
And then you go act stupid and drunk.
But that's the best part about golfing
My
is
point.
you're dressed so like nice and like, but then you're like publicly drunk. It's like this.
Well, you dress nice, so no
Great.
one cares. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, he's just like doing his thing, and then you're like crashing a golf cart behind a tree. Do you think I can make it out the sandbank or not? Like,
That's the
Yeah.
only thing, like, my few couple times that I've been golfing is it was like, oh, the sprinklers are on. And we jam over there with the golf cart and see how many donuts you can do.
Yeah.
In the golf cart. No
Nothing
golf
wrong with
balls
that.
hit, though.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with
You're
that.
making
Get
a
kicked
great
out.
case. This
you're
is-
making a great case to go golfing.
Yeah, this
Yeah,
sounds great.
that's what
We've
you
got-
do.
But then you get kicked out for doing donuts. in
If
the
you
golf
haven't
cart.
been charged for breaking a golf cart, or if you haven't been asked to leave a golf course at one point in your golfing career, you're not doing something right. I think the misperception is people think people go to play golf to actually play golf, when in reality, we're going to do that exact thing.
Yeah.
We're hoping it rains.
we should film us going to play my kind of golf.
Yeah.
We should, because I've never played your
Everybody
kind of
bring
golf.
your
We
shotguns.
also should put $1,000 in a little envelope for our bail money.
We'll leave it with our wives.
Yeah.
They can only catch one of us, so don't be slow.
It's not gonna be me. We know that.
But sorry to bring us off onto right field with the golfing thing. But again, just attesting to the idea of networking and getting yourself out there and the opportunities it can bring you. And it brought us together and
Yeah.
things that we've done. And I think now jumping ship a little bit, you're being humble on the whole music front.
Yeah, man.
I
Very
edited
humble.
Scratchy Cage and Tumbleweed, in which Chase put some of your guys' music, unannounced to me, your guys' music throughout the
Yeah.
movie. And I don't know if you know this, but I called Chase and was like, we're working on another project, which you'll be involved with, Worst Summer Ever. And I'm like, hey, who is this band? Who's doing the music on this? Can we lock them in and do some stuff for like Worst Summer Ever? Because obviously music rights and everything can get very complicated.
Yeah.
And he's like, dude, he's like, that's me. That's me and Willy. And I was like, what? And I like totally hit me from left field. The intro music that we're using for this podcast is these guys.
Yeah.
We're going to throw it in there. But like, tell us a little bit about your music. Tell us what you've done in your music career. And then
Yeah.
I'm just going to
Yeah.
say it. How are you not freaking in like Nashville doing music full
It's
time?
it's so nice walking by a trailer at 3 a.m. and Willie's
He's
just in
playing the
there
guitar.
serenading you. Oh my God, it's such a nice part of my
Eat
day.
your lunch with some Willy music.
So rad.
It's
First
great.
off, thank you. Yeah, that's super nice to hear. Like music, I started when I was like 16, so I've been doing it for like 20 years. And yeah, just songwriting like since I was a kid, and have done so many songs. So like that's kind of my trajectory with music. Like I just never stop writing songs. Like it's, I mean, like 1,000 probably. Like I just do it all the time. And so like I think in that, part of like being an artist, I think, is being willing to fail and fail hard. And I think that's kind of still the path that I'm on in my brain,
Okay.
because I'm just like, I think I haven't gotten to the point where like I feel like it's good enough yet, even though it's you know
Do you
it's-
ever get there though?
I was
with
like,
music?
some of the
I don't
best
know. Maybe
artists are
not.
their
Yeah.
worst critics.
Yeah, so I think that's part of the reason where it's like there have been a couple times where I've tried to like really lean in and be like, okay, I'm going to go do it for real, but like every time I do that, it just puts this weird pressure on it, and I'm like making it for weird reasons, and it's not like honest. So I think more than anything, it's just going to be a matter of me accepting my art. And it's like it's weird at this point, so many years later, like, you know, understanding that I haven't accepted that yet. Like I'll make something that I feel is amazing, that I feel really connected to, that I feel like connects to people, that people like, that people give me like feedback on. They're like, this is great, like, you know, and there's still just something in my brain that hasn't clicked in to like accept that. So yeah.
What do you think acceptance looks like in that realm though? Like what to you would be like, hey, I've accepted it?
I think like it's a good question. I think being able to have that feedback more often of like, because a lot of it is just like, you know, alone in my house writing music all the time or recording music. And I think a next step for me in accepting it would be to like play it all the time, play a lot of shows. And
Because how many people actually know that like
right,
you do music stuff?
yeah, you know,
Right.
like I'm not very overt with that
Right.
either. And so I think it's like, and I don't really know what that is necessarily. Like, I don't think I'm trying to be like, I don't think I'm trying to play it down, but I also just think like connecting with people over other things. Like, I don't want this thing, like, I don't ever want to come across as like I'm an artist, like, and you know, like I haven't really taken that torch.
I want to just
Like-
tell you though that I envy you in the fact that the thing that I probably dislike the most about myself in the artistic realm is that I push so hard on like the self promotion, and maybe that's
Yeah.
the fear of like not having that success in being an artist and what we
Sure.
do in filmmaking, right? So I'm constantly like, call it making stickers of myself and like self promoting and sweatshirts and just like trying to make sure everyone knows I'm a filmmaker.
Yeah.
And then I look at someone like you who's so fucking talented, who makes music, and then you're so like humble about it, and you're not out on set like, I'm Willy the artist, and I'm like,
Yeah.
to me, dude, that's like fucking, like, you're so. What it appeals to me is like you're so confident in what you do that you don't have to like push it on people, and I feel like my biggest downfall is like push things so hard on people to like recognize things. Where like that comes very naturally, where people see your music and they're like, he's the best musician, like, have you heard his shit?
Yeah.
You're playing guitar and someone will be walking down like, yo, Willie's playing, go listen.
Oh,
You don't
yeah.
hear that kind of stuff when people are
Right.
talking. So I want to just attest to that and just say like, some people, you may not see it that way, but other people look at it as like a huge pro, not a con.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, thanks. I appreciate it. Because, yeah, it's like, I feel like, that's kind of come out of necessity for me, I will say. It's like, because, like, early on, as, like, a teenager more so, is when I was, like, really trying to promote myself. And it wasn't really, like, received in the way that I expected it to be. And so I feel like that was really when I dug in and was like, okay, I've just got to find my own confidence in this. Like, if I love this, then that's all that has to matter, you know? Like, and so I think I really dug deep into that. And I think it's been a strength for me in some ways and a weakness in others, because I'm so dug into that. Like, I'll make whatever for whatever reason, and I'll be happy with it, and but I also won't share it and be like open with it, which is what ultimately I want to be. I got so scared of like the criticism of it as a teenager that I just kind of like buried it deep, that now I'm not willing to let people like enjoy it either, because like I'm like kind of taking away their ability to criticize it. I'm like, yeah, if I don't show anyone, nobody can criticize it.
Right.
But that's a double-edged sword, because nobody can enjoy it.
I'm in the same boat as you, because I've
Yeah.
played drums my entire life.
Yeah.
And when I was younger, I would play in front of all these people. I would go to, concerts and play with bands and things like that. Nowadays, dude, I cannot play in front of a person. Like, I
Really?
cannot
Yeah.
play.
didn't even know you played drums. Huh?
Exactly. I don't tell
He's
people.
got like a 16-piece drum set,
It's-
like the
yeah.
biggest
Insane,
thing I've
dude.
ever
It's like
seen.
my
It
whole
takes
living
this whole
room.
living room up. Yeah.
I've got guitars,
Wow.
basses, pianos, all that stuff. I'm on the same battle as you. I
Totally.
don't know how to do that yet.
How do you break out of that?
Yeah.
Like, and what's been on my mind lately is just being willing to like I'm a big boy now, like I can take criticism. I don't care. Like, and I think just connecting those dots in my head of like people want to enjoy this, people want to be a part of this with you, like it's okay if it gets criticized cuz you don't even care anymore. Like you're
Right.
not 16, you're not like this like fragile artist like you once were. Like we're all fragile as artists to a certain degree, but I think like not to that extreme degree as I was when I was 16 starting.
Well, I think too, like when we're younger, we're trying to prove something not only to ourselves but to everyone around us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then I'm starting to get like this in film, and I've talked about it a few times over the podcast a little bit, but like my interest to be pushing on social and be posting and be
Yeah.
so involved in all that is dropping dramatically because I'm finding my career and success outside of social and
Yeah.
more in like a career path of like filmmaking and such,
Totally.
where like my identity on Instagram and my next music video isn't necessarily my next job. And
Yeah.
so like to me, I'm taking a huge step back and finding like happiness in the internal success, not having to like show everyone it.
Yeah.
Where like before it was almost like, look at me, I'm trying to do something in film and it's actually happening, and look.
Right.
And I was noticing like I wasn't growing a following, that wasn't happening, I wasn't like being that influencer, like those things weren't happening for me. And it was almost like I like pivoted and had to like ask myself like what I wanted, and it was like what I wanted and what I needed isn't the acceptance or like everyone telling me I was doing it.
Yeah.
Now that I'm actually doing it and like doing stuff under Happy Rabbit and I'm actually working on these big movies, I feel like I don't need to tell anyone. Like I feel like I
Yeah.
don't need to like put it out there anymore.
Totally.
Or like I'm feeling that change in myself. But I want to just say to you from a outside perspective is like, dude, throw it on us. Like give it to us.
Yeah.
Like give the people what they want. And like I can tell you, like they want some music from you, bro.
Yeah, I want some Willy.
Well, it goes.
Everyone wants it, yeah.
It goes both ways. I mean, like this is
Yeah.
actually like really good conversation because it's people probably feel the same way about whether or not they're like writers, you know, like script writing, or if you're a filmmaker, you know,
Right.
or like whatever kind of art that you're creating, if you're, you know, a sketch artist or whatever
And painting.
it may be, you know, like oftentimes we're like afraid to put our stuff out there
Yeah.
for people to see. But it's like, honestly, the truth is like, how do you grow
Yeah.
unless you're getting feedback from people?
And being able to adjust to the
and
feedback.
I was
Yeah.
like, Charles is the
Capitalize.
perfect example of it, because when I was hard into social, like right when we first met, I was like living and breathing YouTube and like Instagram, pushing it so hard for myself. I had a bigger following than I do now, which is weird because my following keeps dropping. But but no, Charles at the time was like, dude, I don't get Instagram, I don't get the social. He's like, to me, I remember this conversation we had. He goes, it feels weird that I'm posting a photo of myself talking about myself working. And I go, Charles, you have a piece of gear that very, very, very limited of people have in this industry.
Yeah.
And then to people outside of the industry, it looks freaking crazy cool, this robotic man
Yeah.
running around with the camera. And I was like, show people, document it, like put it out there. So I started taking some photos. He did an amazing job at getting his own content with 360 cameras. And he went from like 2,000 followers to like 14, 15,000
Yeah.
in like 6 months. And he just surpassed me. His stuff was going viral. It was on all these platforms. He was getting hired for jobs because of it. And then it was like, it was one of those moments where like I saw, not to get too deep into it, but I saw what I was doing wrong for so many years on social through his success, because he niched his success. He found a lane, he posted in that lane, he grew off of that lane. And then to me, I was posting just like a bunch of bullshit, just posting
Yeah.
what I was into at that very moment. And that
Right.
was changing every 2 months.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
you'd get on my Instagram, you wouldn't know who I was, what I did, if I was this, that, or the other. And so
Right.
it was like, just that alone, it was a cool, just, I don't know. I guess I'm going on a weird tangent.
No,
here.
I think it's like, I think it's a part of it because it's like the other side of it that I'll say is that like when you do become proficient at something or familiar with something, you don't realize how unique and interesting or how many questions people might have about it. Like, and that's how I feel about music. I'm just like, and like it's just commonplace to me now. But if I were to explain some of the things that I'm doing, like I know that that could help somebody who's wanting to learn songwriting. But like, and I feel like that's been a big part of my growth since changing into the film industry. Is just like, and I've learned a bunch from you guys, just how giving you guys are with that information. And I don't, or maybe it's just you guys, or maybe it's this industry. I feel like I've seen it a lot in the Utah film industry of just like me getting started not knowing anything and people just being completely willing to like help and like be on my team and like share this information with me.
It's because you're a good person. I'll say that. Like, we're not doing that to everyone, or
Sure.
like everyone's not getting into those inner circles. But like,
Sure.
if you're a good person and people like you, they want you on set.
Yeah.
And like, you're one of those people, hands down. That
Thanks.
anytime Charles has been like, "Oh, like Willie's on electric on this," and you're like, "Hell yeah!" Like Willie's
Yeah,
there. Like
hell
it's a
yeah.
good vibe. And
Thank
that's
you.
why people are trying to give you that information, so you stay around and you're still in those circles.
Yeah.
Honestly.
I feel like
Yeah.
I feel like people in Utah too, like, cause it is really hard to like get into the film industry, right?
Yeah.
And then not only that, but like there's only it takes a certain type of person to be on a film set,
Sure.
right?
100%.
You kind of have to be
Yeah.
ADD or ADHD,
Yeah.
and you have to like love working and kind of self punishment, and and then there's like the mental acuity part too.
This
Where-
is a therapy session for
Yeah,
me.
no,
I had no
right.
idea I had ADD. I had no idea. Wow,
Sorry.
I love
Yeah.
this. This
He's
is
been
amazing.
diagnosed with Charles.
No, but it takes a certain type of person, though.
You
for
know, and
sure.
then like
yeah.
it's that like mental awareness too
Yeah.
of like we're having a conversation over here, but I'm also
Mhm.
listening to what's going on over here, and then he says I need this, this, and this, and you're like
You're
running over
you're
to the truck,
into
like,
that.
You're like, sorry, we'll talk
Yeah.
later. Running over the truck, grabbing those 5 things,
Yeah,
and then when he calls it on the radio, you're already there at his feet with everything he said, right?
exactly. Yeah,
And not everybody in the world can do that. You
Yeah.
know?
Actually, a
And-
lot of people can't do that.
Yeah.
And, like,
And so like
and you can tell when they can't.
you can.
Yeah.
and you can tell when people can, and it's
You're
the
like,
line in the
okay.
sand on set.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. And so it's like
Yeah.
when you find those people and they want to be on set, then it's like, oh my gosh, like we actually have somebody that's here, that's cool, they get it,
Yeah,
they want to be on set, then like, cool, let's teach them. So that way we have
Totally.
another person that we can bring on.
yeah,
Yeah, and you can rely on and want to be around.
And
you know?
Yeah.
I will attest, the Utah community is pretty damn good at, like, pretty good. I'd say I've never lived anywhere else, but I'd like to think that it's not this good in like LA and Atlanta because of how
Mm.
hectic it is. But like Utah's pretty damn good at like taking care of each other, and it's like,
Yeah.
for the most part, like, oh, if he hasn't worked, let's get him on. Oh, he's worked a bunch, let's bring this guy on. And there seems to be a little bit of balance here, where like, for the most part, it's not the same people only working. Like,
Yeah.
it seems like Utah knows our core people, and it's like we try to like.
Everybody gets a little shot this year. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
great example is Benjo. Benjo's reaching out to us on camera, who he knows we don't have a lot of work over here, and he's like, "Hey, do you guys want to come try to do a day on Studio C?" And it's just like
Yeah.
that kind of cross love that I see a lot here, where I'm sure they have it other places, but it seems to be strong here.
Yeah, I think so too. I've noticed that, like, being relatively new in it, like yeah, just the community in the sense of, and just like, yeah, making friends, and like you're with the people that you want to spend time with, and that seems to be like a lot more people than I thought it would be.
Mhm.
Like, it's not like these little cliques
Mhm.
as much. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like it happens in any community and in any industry, but I feel like it's a broader community here.
I think there's groups
Yeah.
of friends that are closer than others.
Sure.
Maybe some that go golfing together, some that do
Sure.
this. But like, I don't think there's ever a group or clique in Utah that like, if half of this group and half of this group were on a crew, it'd be weird.
Right.
Like
exactly.
it's very like everyone's.
Or if that group that's going golfing, if the person that doesn't golf wanted to go, for sure it'd be like, yeah, let's do it.
Let's share some clubs and like.
Charles.
Yeah. Let's share some clubs. I'll buy sandwiches. Like,
Just kidding, dude. You don't have to golf, bro.
Willie will
Love
serenade you the whole time.
Yeah,
I'll make you a
dude.
I will go
sandwich.
let's go golfing.
You can laugh at me.
Let's go golfing.
Let's
be
go
good.
golfing and
All right,
film
you heard it. We
Let's
have it
do
on tape.
Yes.
We
Happy
have to
Rabbit
film
Golf
it.
Adventures.
It'll be a Tech Tuesday.
Yeah.
Golf carts.
So I was like, as long as we do a podcast while we're golfing.
Right.
We do it while we were driving
That
around.
would actually be fun.
It would
Yeah.
That would be fun to do
Yeah.
a podcast while golfing, and just even if we bring one camera.
It's
and
like
we all
starting to be a
talk.
pretty
should do it.
popular thing. There's all these
Do
YouTube
it
channels
live.
out now where
Yeah.
people go and get drunk and just drive. I guess they're at a golf course, but I never see
Allegedly
them.
drunk.
Allegedly they're
Alleged.
drunk, but I never see them hit a ball. Like the whole video,
They're
dude.
just
They're just,
driving around.
or they'll do mushrooms and just drive around. Like the end of the video, they're in a sand pit, and you're like, well, you got nothing done in this video.
Sounds great.
Charles is learning a whole golf. Like Charles is learning a whole new world of what golf is.
Yeah.
It's evolving with us.
That's awesome.
So you started. How did you and Chase meet? 'Cause
Good
I don't
question.
know if I.
We were in a theater production when we were, I think I was 13 and he was 12.
Oh, okay.
So when we
Long
were
time.
kids.
Okay.
Long or
Yeah,
lifelong
lifelongers,
homies.
yeah.
Cool.
We skate, like we'd hang out, on the weekends or whatever and go skateboarding and
Okay.
play. I remember he was like way into drumming, like he still is obviously, but
Yeah.
I just remember being like so impressed as this 13-year-old. I'm like, whoa, you can play the drums. It was like this crazy thing, and
That's cool.
but yeah, we hung out as kids.
and
and
then
then-
did you guys naturally like just start playing music together, or
It's
did you start writing, or like was there any, or were you just totally disconnected from each other as far as like the music stuff goes?
We were pretty disconnected as far as music goes when we were kids. But I remember I was probably like 19 or 20, and I went over to his house one time and played a song for him and his family, and everyone was just like, what? It was like a really sweet moment.
That's cool.
For me, like memory. And even Chase, I remember him being like, what the hell, dude? Like he had just played a song. He tells this story all the time. But he had just played a song to try to like impress me.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's great, man. And not like being a dick or anything. I was just like, here's one I wrote, And he's like, fuck you, man.
I love that.
So
That's
like
cool.
it kind of evolved after that. Like he's always been a huge supporter of my music and like what I do with it, and like just since we were, in our 20s, and just every step of the journey has involved Chase in some way, of him just being like, no, dude, you're my favorite songwriter. And like,
That's awesome.
yeah. So like it turned into like the first album I did was probably 19, and he played the drums for the band that we had, and but yeah, and then he moved. We kind of parted ways for a number of years until like we would talk like you do when you're connected with someone, but like he was living out in New York, and then when he moved back, he was like, hey dude, how cool would it be to do another album, or like to do an album, because we'd never sat down and written an album together. I was like, dude, let's do it. So it was like through COVID, that's like what got us through COVID.
Oh, right
was
on.
writing the Ruby stuff.
Yeah.
That is freaking
That's cool.
awesome.
Yeah.
Where can people hear the album and check it out?
Yeah, it's on Spotify and iTunes, YouTube Music.
What's it called again?
It's called Loserville.
Loserville.
The band is
And you're
Ruby.
you're mix and mastering. You're playing
On-
the piano, guitar.
So on that one, I had a friend mix and master.
Okay.
A friend I met in L.A. And then, but I did all the production, and me and Chase just kind of teamed up on the choir parts. We did a lot of like big harmonies and fun stuff.
Yeah, it's
And
cool.
then
You're so downplaying it. It's like so badass. Like you're like, I love it, but like you're downplaying it. It's awesome.
It's fun.
It's
Yeah.
really fun and
Yeah.
it's really cool. And then you're gonna listen to this podcast and check this guy out, and then you're gonna listen to his music and you're gonna be like, what? Like you're like one of those like American Idol icons to me, where it's
Golden
like,
buzzer.
yeah, yeah. Like
Oh,
you like
thanks,
look at
dude.
him, nice guy, and then all of a sudden he sings and your mouth just drops and you're like, what the
Oh
fuck?
man. Hell
So
yeah, thank you.
I've been saying it for years now. You know what I'm about to say.
I know exactly what you're gonna say.
What am I gonna say?
You're gonna say we gotta shoot a music video.
I've been telling this guy for freaking years. Every time I see him, I'm like, whenever I said,
Yeah,
let me shoot
yeah.
you guys a music video. Like, let's do it. And you have yet to.
I have yet to
me up
reach
on
out.
it.
Oh my lord.
You got the
Yeah.
Happy Rabbit crew. You got
I
us
know,
boys.
Yeah.
It'll be fun. And we'd love to do that for you, and we can make
Yeah.
a fun thing out of it. So
Yeah, that'll be rad.
let us know, dude.
Yeah, I'll sit down and make it happen.
A song that really means a lot to you, that you really have wanted some visuals for,
Yeah,
and then we'll come up with a cool treatment, and
Yeah.
we'll find a day, and we'll just get all the boys together and do it.
sounds so rad. Let's do it.
And the next thing you know, everyone in Utah will be like, he does music?
What? Yeah.
That's cool. So
That'd
now,
be
cool.
now you're making movies.
Now I'm making movies.
And how was that transition? Because before you were doing construction, which, by the way, you were doing very like artsy construction, anyways.
Yeah.
So
What kind were you doing?
So I've done like everything from like basement remodels to like finished carpentry, like accent walls, and then even as a teenager, like, so I have been on set like kind of through my life, which I
Okay.
feel like that led to me feeling very comfortable with the transition. But like I built movie sets for like independent church movies when I was a teenager, and
Cool.
and did that kind of thing. So like, so that was kind of that background. And then, yeah, it just kind of led really beautifully into shifting gears. And I think it's been nothing but good for me and like my growth as an artist and as a person. Like, I think just socially it's really wonderful. Just like, you know, meeting so many wonderful people and artists like you guys, like that just have that brain, that are committed. And you know, I think so yeah, that was kind of the transition. It was just like it's really afforded me the opportunity to take a different approach to creating music and songwriting, which is like my number one thing that I want to do in life. You know,
Cool.
it's like songwriting. If I wake up in the morning, like that's the first thing that I'm going to and thinking about is songwriting. Like I just go to the piano and try to figure some stuff out, or so like that's kind of where my heart is at, I guess. And like, and movies has helped a ton because it's a different creative outlet. But it sparks so many of those things, and it takes so much of the pressure off of like what my songs should or shouldn't be. It's like not trying to make money with music, which I think is in my future, but it's like it became this like haunting thing of like I have to make money with my music. And like I was saying earlier, it kind of just put this weird lens on it for me. I didn't like it. And it's not even that I was getting all these opportunities to make money with it. It was just a mental shift where like it was like, okay, I gotta grind, I gotta hustle. And like I've just never been the type to hustle. And like that's something I'll talk about, is just like like even in the film industry, I've like it's not in my nature to be like hey, when's the next job? Like, hey, get me on. Like, I just am like, hey man, I don't know. Like, oh, you got something cool. But if not, I'm just gonna go and do my thing. Like, that's just been in my nature, and I think early on, or I guess during the period of my life where I was trying to like make music my career, it was very unnatural because I was like feeling like I needed to hustle in order to make it happen. And so like the shift has been really nice because I'm like, no, I'm seeing that the less that I try to make it in the film industry, the more it seems to just kind of move along, and I'm more okay with the pace. I'm not trying to control anything. I'm not trying to like, you know, because it's not in my nature to be that way. I think it is in some people's nature and it does work for them, but like, so I think it really put into perspective my music journey of just like, oh, okay, I'll just like keep chipping away at it and do what feels natural and just keep doing it, and yeah, who knows.
That's cool.
I know. I'm
feel
very excited to see what that looks like for you in the next little bit. And that's a
Yeah.
beautiful thing about it, right? Is it could be 6 months away or it could be 6 years away.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, I don't know. That's a beautiful thing about life, right? Is you
Yeah.
never know when that big break or when that opportunity is going to come. We've seen it all our lives through all social platforms of people who knows? Like it could be
Yeah.
any time, right? And so
Totally.
it's going to be really cool to see when, not
Yeah.
if, but when that happens
Yeah.
for you. And
Thanks.
we're here for you, and you got the support of your boys and the Utah crew behind you, dude.
Yeah.
And like it's gonna be cool to see what you do with that.
Yeah, thanks.
I hope
appreciate
nothing
that.
more than we could be at the Oscars one day and there's a winning soundtrack that is produced
Yeah.
by you or something like
Yeah, that would be great.
That'd be
He's like,
cool.
that would be
That
awesome.
would be.
That'd be wonderful.
I see it. I
Yeah.
see it, dude. And so
So how was
Thanks.
it on your first? Because you're probably one of the newest into the film industry
Yeah.
that we've had on set
Yeah,
or here. Sorry.
yeah.
Besides Alex, that's why I pointed over there. But how was it though? Like being an electrician on your first show, and they're like, "Hey, go grab cube taps and stingers and Aditaps and zip cord or like lay some Band-Aid and give me a snake bite." Like how was it?
Oh,
He's like,
man.
give
trying
you a
to learn
what?
the vernacular and like what all the things are.
I think it was terrifying for sure. Like some of the most like just emotionally unsettled moments I've experienced in my life
Yeah.
of just like just panic all the time. Just like what do I do? And like trying to figure out the social situation within a film set and like just in the industry that I didn't know either. Like that was almost equally as difficult for me because it's like, am I allowed to say I don't know? Am I, am I
For sure.
no,
allowed
that's
to
a good thing. Let's
ask
talk about that.
questions?
Yeah.
And
What's the right answer though to that? And I would say
100%.
100% yes. Ask the questions. If you're getting on
Yeah.
set and you don't know, just ask.
It's way
Yeah.
better you ask a question than really screw something up.
yeah, totally though. And it's like, and that puts you at ease as a worker. And I think that does require a certain level of like humility and acceptance from the leadership in the
Totally.
situation as well, because there are certain types of people that will see that as a weakness, that will kind of like dock you for that. But I think like in my experience I've been met with nothing but like grace.
Oh,
And
that's awesome.
and so like that was a really good experience of just like, if you have a question, just ask. I think that was said. I think JB said that like within the first 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So that was really sweet. And like,
Cool.
I think the thing is there though is if someone's asking you a question, being that person that gets asked it, and I give you an answer, and then you execute on it, and then we move forward, and now you know.
yeah.
But if it's something that someone tells someone else something and they don't do it, or they do it one time and then the next time they mess it up
They
again and
forget,
again.
they keep
That's what
asking.
separates.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's what makes it not okay.
Yeah.
But like the asking and learning, like that's why you're there
Yeah.
essentially. Like in those positions, that's what they're
Yeah.
for.
Totally. So I think that my experience was that fortunately I was able to learn all this stuff really quickly, and like I was committed enough to it that I was like studying it and like trying to remember it and just going through it in my head, like when I'm not on set, like
Because it's a lot.
it's
I mean,
a lot.
Oftentimes on a lot of film sets, you know, you're showing up, you have a 48-foot semi truck
Yeah.
that is filled to the brim
Yeah.
with, you know, if you're an electrician, it's full of electrical stuff, you know,
Yeah.
and if you're a grip, it's full of gripping equipment,
Yeah.
you know, and it's not just like, oh, you have like 3 or 4 lights that you got off of B&H, you know.
Right.
We're talking like these are big lights with big power, you know,
Yeah.
and like the whole belly of the truck is full of freaking cable. You know?
Yeah,
and
you
it's-
gotta know
and
which
it's
cable
heavy,
goes
and you
where,
gotta know
what
how
it's.
to plug it in.
Yeah.
Not to
You know,
mention there's
and-
consequences if you do things wrong.
Yeah.
Outside
Yeah.
of just getting
Yeah.
fired, but you could light something on fire. You could
Totally.
like
It's a
You could
lot.
hurt
Yeah,
yourself.
it's
Yeah.
a lot of stuff that you like kind of are like trying to absorb as fast as you can.
Yeah.
Kind of a thing when you're on set, and it can be overwhelming. Sometimes.
Yeah, totally. And I think, yeah, so I think it was a scary experience, but it was really good because I learned pretty early on that I could ask questions, but that it was up to me to like retain that and understand how to move forward in the future with it. And so I think it was good, and like, and you can kind of tell like now if I work with someone that it's their first day on set, like you can kind of see the people, or I should say you can like really clearly see the people that are understanding it and applying it and the people that aren't. It's like
Yeah.
it's like night and day. So it's
For
like
sure.
I think looking back on that, it makes like I can understand how, you know, like my journey was able to progress the way it did, because like you can see that if you're in a position of leadership of just like, okay, yeah, do this, and it's just like, and it happens, and
they
the-
take initiative and
Yeah.
it flows
Yeah.
and like they're not it again and there's not really a perfect way to explain it, but it takes a certain type of person.
yeah, totally.
And like you can really feel that, and like I think that's the beautiful thing about it is if it doesn't work for you, there's many other positions in production
Totally.
that like don't call for the same thing. Maybe
Yeah.
that's something in the office, maybe that's something more on the production side, or maybe
Totally.
that's a different department. But like recognizing that, yeah, for
yeah.
sure.
Yeah, on that, like how, because you went from like, you know, starting out as just an on-set electrician to like on the last show you were besting,
Yeah.
and explain to everybody what a best boy is, just for those people that don't know, and then also how was it making that transition
Yeah.
from being an on-set electrician to now being a best boy.
Yeah. So Best Boy's the assistant lighting technician. So they're the assistant to the gaffer, and they're in charge of the equipment and the truck, and kind of managing how that is all laid out and stored and organized and employed on set.
A lot of responsibility.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
And
kind of say
they're-
they're like the general manager of
Yeah.
the crew, kind of
Yeah.
a thing. Like,
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it came as like a surprise. It was just kind of like, yeah, like I think I could do that. Like I felt confident in myself that I had a good enough understanding of how things worked that I could do it. But yeah, it was another growing moment for sure. It was just like, because then you're learning the other side of things of like, how do I make this stuff happen? Like there's more weight on my shoulders as far as like equipment. Like if the right equipment doesn't get ordered, it's because I didn't order it. And like, so I think that was a huge growing moment as well, because like there were things that felt like I was taking risks, but it felt like the right thing to do. And and I think it worked out in the end, and but yeah,
That's one of those like big things of stepping up into those key positions where it's like I had the same realization where at the end of the day it's on you.
yeah,
And like that's why you're in that key position.
Yeah.
And I think one thing I had to remind myself, like especially on the last movie we were on, I was having to make a lot of calls of gear, storing gear and transporting gear, and
yeah,
no one was giving me direction. And so
Yeah.
like I purely was making that call for the whole team and what gear was going where.
yeah,
And it's that same gut feeling of like at the end of the day, like we're all here, we're all in this job, we all like you kind of just make that decision and hope
Totally.
it's right, and if it's wrong you fix it.
yeah,
Like
totally. And I think that marks somebody who should be in that position, is someone who's willing to fix it when it's wrong, or willing to take accountability when it's wrong.
Totally.
Yeah.
Because like there are definitely people that get in those positions that aren't willing to take accountability, and you can feel it when you're on the crew.
Yeah.
Because you're like, okay, well, whose fault do you want me to take responsibility?
like what
Right.
do we do
Yeah.
The
now?
grunt, like
Yeah.
there are things that happen like that. So I think like having been in the grunt position so recently, I think that has kind of helped me just kind of consider what I'm doing as a best boy, and like consider how I'm treating people on the crew and the rest of the people on set, because like I understand, like it's been so recent that I understand what it's like to be treated poorly by people in those positions. And I think it's one of the most important parts of being on set is like just feeling that support, and like feeling like people who are accountable are taking accountability, because it like negates so much of the confusion that can happen if that, like
Totally.
you're just spinning wheels if and so I think it does take a certain amount of accountability to be like, yeah, I messed up and this is how we're going to fix it, and I'll try not to do it in the future.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, I tell these guys all the time, like, because I come from that utility and second, and call it more the old school thinking is
Yeah.
like right on the line of when I was getting into film versus like now I call it like the new like soft version of everything where
Yeah.
everyone's nice and no one's yelling at each other and you're
Yeah.
not getting your ass kicked and fired for the littlest things anymore kind of thing. But I tell these guys all the time, like, as a first AC and your first or your operators are coming in and helping pack up the truck, that's not normal.
Yeah.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
utilities and seconds on union jobs pack everything up
Yeah.
and like lock everything down. So, and they're out an hour or two later than you.
Yeah.
Or like, and
Before
so,
you, yeah.
or yeah, so like
Yeah.
what I tell the guys all the time is like, look, the fact that our ops are here helping load the truck, the fact that our firsts are here loading the truck, like we've been there and we're trying to like ease that on you, and maybe we're helping the next generation be soft, or like I don't know, like
I think so. Well, I've thought about that a lot too, because like, and I'm very new in the industry, but from what I can tell and like stories I've heard of just like best being like really just no
Gnarly.
nonsense, like 5 minutes late you're fired. I've never seen that, but like that's kind of the attitude, and like that's also not an attitude that I would like to have in the industry. And I don't know.
No, I've been on jobs
It's
where
changing.
as a second
Yeah.
though, if I wasn't 30 minutes early, I got yelled at.
I feel like
100%.
there's
Totally.
definitely things that are important, like being on time and things, but I feel
True.
like it has a lot to say with, like, just because things work doesn't necessarily mean they were the right way to do it. And
Definitely.
like me raised on the hard way may
Yeah.
have helped create a certain type of person and work ethic and things, but that might not be the only way to do it nowadays. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
And people, I feel like, just as a society, we're more willing to talk about feelings. We're more willing to like work through kind of emotional
Mm-hmm.
walls that we hit. And so I think it's interesting to see that kind of applied in the film industry a little bit, of just like there is more like understanding, and I think that's I think that's a good way to do it. Honestly, I
Mhm.
think discipline's super important, and it has its place, but also understanding the human side of it and enjoying who you're with. I think that's an equally important side of it.
Yeah, for sure.
No, I love it, dude. We need to get you into this podcast a lot more. We need to make this like
Yeah.
a way more frequent thing.
I'm
It makes me
down.
sad that it
Yeah.
took us so long to get you in,
No,
but
no worries.
we need to have you hear more, dude. And I want to
Yeah.
dive more into this stuff and like the
Yeah.
things that we are getting into. I think there's some real value there, and a lot of people in the film industry don't like talking about these things because we're being vulnerable at the end of the day, and we're bringing up
Sure.
things that are personal to us. But if we could help one person with this conversation get that next job, or help one person stay into the film industry, I think we're doing what we're setting out to do. So
yeah, I love that.
thank you, man. And
Yeah, thank you guys.
Yeah.
for the viewers and people listening, where can they find your stuff? Where can they find your music? Where can they listen to all this? I know you said it a little before,
Yeah.
but
So, my Instagram is at Willy Eklof, WILLYEKLOF. That's just kind of my shit post place. I post music, like you were saying. Like, I'm not out for followers, whatever. It's just where I.
But we
hang out.
want to see more. You
Yeah.
posted a story
I
the
will-
other
I
day
will
of you in the
post-
studio and you're making music, and I was like, show me more. I want to see you
Yeah,
create
hell
it.
yeah, dude. So yeah, there will be more, as per Scooter.
For my request.
As per his request. No, but that's where my Instagram is. Spotify, Apple Music. Ruvey is the band, Ruvey. And then I have a bunch of other projects that I haven't even told you guys about.
Well,
Ooh.
I was about to say, now we got a topic for the next
Yeah,
one.
we'll talk about the more. Yeah, it's all a mess because I tried to distribute it myself, and so there's like 4 different artists that are spelled the same
Okay.
because it's like I use some cheap distribution company, and so it's really hard to find any of my other music. But there's over 100 songs on Spotify.
Well, let's dive
That's
into
awesome,
that
man.
on the next one, and I
Yeah.
want to figure out some of these projects, and then hopefully we've either filmed the music video for you, or we're in pre-production of that, so we can chat about it.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you,
for joining
buddy.
us,
Thank you,
Will.
Willy.
Guys, you rock.
And
Thanks for watching, everybody. Sorry. I
You
cut
take
you
us
off.
out. Take us out, bro. I'm
Please
sick
like
of talking.
and subscribe, and also stay tuned for some of our other guests that we have coming up. See ya.
We out.